Hello everyone and welcome to SimRacingOnline. This is round 3 of the SimRacingOnline Lola T70 MarkII Championship, and today we are at a very special track, Laguna Seca, in the heart of America. And Matteo Santini is currently showing us how it's done. This is a classic version. Oh wow, that was unexpected. No, sorry. This is a classic version of the Laguna Seca circuit, the circuit that still operates to this day, but not quite in this format. In fact, let's keep an eye on Santini to see exactly what's changed, because I'm not entirely sure. I still need to get up the track map. Hello to everyone in the YouTube chat. George D15009, thank you for joining. I wasn't expecting to see you here today, but very nice of you to show up, and I hope that you enjoy. And hello as well to Matteo Floriani, who says, let's go Gallo, as in Lorenzo Galuzzi, who is currently second in the times. Since we have just a couple of minutes left, let's take a look at some of the key contenders. This is Maddie Shepard. She's currently leading the championship, but only by a whoopsie daisy. Well, that's a hay bale, I think she just tapped there. But yeah, only by a very small margin as it stands. Let me just see what that margin is. I think it's something like 2 or 3 points. It's 1 point. Oh, and who's that she's come together with? Luckily, this is only qualifying, so that's not going to affect it too much. It's Philip Stojanovic, so two of the really quick drivers coming together there. And Maddie may well... No, she's gone back to the pit, so she won't get another run, because you have to drive back to the pits under your own steam in order to make another lap. Anyway, Galuzzi across the line to start what may well be his final qualifying lap. He might also get 2. It really depends on how... Whoa, all the way over the curbs, and that's enough. Okay, so Galuzzi will not be improving on this qualifying lap. Now, if you haven't already figured it out, this is only qualifying, so the race has not yet started. The race starts just after this, and this is the session which determines exactly where the drivers are going to start on the starting grid, so who gets a head start over their competitors by being quicker. Phil Brown locking up the tyres, but he seems to be okay through the final corner there. Let's see what he can do across the start-finish line. A slight improvement, but he stays 4th. In fact, with Galuzzi and Shepard both still in the pits, it looks as if Santini's pretty safe up the top there. I'm not sure that anyone has what it takes to get close enough to him to snatch away that pole position at this point in the session. Can Phil Brown break into the top 3 though? That looks a little more likely. Still has to find over 3 tenths though, and that's not going to help. I'm not sure that will completely ruin his lap. There was only a small tap of the wall and not at a particularly disruptive point. But anyway, down through the famous corkscrew bend and all the way over the banking. That's gonna ruin the lap there. If the previous mistake didn't, then that will. Let's take a look at Laurent Lunt, who is currently... Is he second in the championship? He's up there. Let me double check that. Yeah, currently second in the championship, just 1 point behind Maddie Shepard. And his lap is only good enough for a slight improvement. He stays 7th. So Lunt's having a decent qualifying performance, but not quite what you would expect from him. Here's Yosogas, who stays out of the pits and goes round to complete another time. Touches the hay bales very, very slightly. Should be okay. Slight improvement from Jos, but stays 8th. So it looks as if the order is pretty much sealed. The only drivers still out on track are the ones outside of the top 10. Not sure I've seen that livery actually, the one that Jari Lackinen is using here, the number 34. Of course, a lot of the liveries have repeated in the first 2 rounds of the championship, but that looks brand new for Jari Lackinen. Big lockup. That corkscrew section is going to be one of the key deciding features of the race today. And we may need that medical car that we just saw in the background there. Luckily, of course, this is sim racing, so no real risk to drivers. So there is qualifying. Matteo Santini is on pole position, followed by Lorenzo Galuzzi and Maddie Shepard. Not a hugely close qualifying session. Santini did seem to have a bit of an advantage over the rest of the field, especially since this is quite a short track. But Galuzzi and Shepard aren't that far behind, so they could still spring a surprise. It's Santini first, Galuzzi second, then Shepard, Brown. That's Phil Brown, Philip Kraus, Philip Stojanovic. So 3 Phils in a row, 3 different versions of the name Phil. How about that for a coincidence? Laurent Lunt is 7th, followed by Jos Ogos, John Van de Geest, Mark Johnson, Maxime Tendel, Jari Lakkinen, Sid Drake, Stefan Lagodin, Kimi Martikainen, Stephen Hayward, and Donny Yorth. So those are the 17 drivers who set qualifying times there. Yorth a little way off the pack, I'm afraid to say it, over a second off anyone else. But the rest of the pack are relatively evenly spaced, as we used to see. And the race will start in just under 2 minutes time. You've got this countdown, and then you have the countdown in the race session itself. So just a few seconds to go until the start of the race now. John Van de Geest is saying good luck. Ooh. Van de Geest himself is in this race. He will be starting from 9th position. Be careful with braking on the first lap. That is going to be important, especially down into the corkscrew. That's the heaviest braking zone. And yeah, it's very easy to misjudge where your rivals are going to be braking into there, and get it very, very wrong indeed. The main difference between this circuit and the modern version of the track is the first sector. It's a much smoother course around to the left. You don't have the sort of first corner hairpin and then the interior corners. It's like an oval until you get to the corkscrew, and then it really starts to disrupt the flow of the circuit. In a good way, though. It makes it very tricky and makes it important for the drivers to get right. Here's Matteo Santini, who will lead us away, providing he gets a good start. Lorenzo Galuzzi will be second in the red Lola MarkII. All of these cars absolutely identical, and then our championship leader will be starting from 3rd place in that beautiful Scottish blue Maddie Shepard car. Here we go, 5 red lights, and when they go out, 6 red lights, and when they go out, we'll be underway as we are for 1 hour of racing here at Laguna Seca. And a big crash immediately. We've got cars scattering in the background. Now I want to go back and see who's involved. This may be a little flashy. Mark Johnson, Jos Ogos, my goodness, Mark Johnson, Kimi Martikainen, Sid Drake, various other cars too, Stojanovic involved. Now and there's going to be contact as they try to get going again. 2 identically liveried cars, Martikainen and Stojanovic coming together. So a chaotic start here at Laguna Seca, and that is not what we like to see. Unfortunately, we can't go back and see exactly who caused that or how, but a big crash off the start line, right down into the corkscrew for the first time of asking. Santini still leading, then it's Galuzzi, Shepard, and Kraus and Lund. So those are the top 5. Lund up 2 places from his starting position. Everyone's still running in this race despite the crash, but some of them much more severely hampered than others. By the way, Phil, that is Phil, I believe either Phil Kraus or Phil Brown. Let's see, who's that? Yes, Kraus. I was just told actually that Phil Kraus has a drive-through penalty, so that will be for something that's occurred in a previous race. So Phil driving through the pits and barely loses any time at all. In fact, I'm not sure he lost a place. That was crazy. So I presume that there's no pit lane speed limit here, because he absolutely flew through the pit lane and stayed in 5th position. Well, I mean, it only said he had to do a drive-through penalty. It didn't say he had to slow down for it, providing there is no pit speed limiter. So that's fair from Kraus, although I think that's probably unfair on the part of the rules there. But anyway, Phil Brown just passed Maxime Tendel for 7th place as we're speaking. That is one of the strangest things. Sometimes you see drivers taking drive-throughs and not losing places, but they tend to be much, much later in the race when the cars are more spread out. I've never seen it happen after the first lap of the race before, except when the driver is already in last position. Okay, so Lunt, well actually Kraus did lose a place to Lunt in all of that, but that was as he entered the pit lane itself. Stefan Lagodin passed Jari Lackinen in that last sector as well. So that is a change for 9th position in the early stages of this race. Very wide from Haywood, and Ogos gets past Yorth in the background for P12. Another lap begins, and Lunt now is right on the back of his main championship rival, Maddie Shepard. About 1 second separates the two of them. And Phil Kraus is coming back fast. Look at that, Kraus already. Well, he came out about where he is now, but he's certainly pushing. You can tell by the body language of the car. Let's see what they do down into the corkscrew here. Annoying how the bank gets in the way. I think there is a different camera angle. There we go. That's slightly better. Although the cars don't look so good on the exit, but anyway. Down through the almost unchanged section of the course, which separates the corkscrew from the start-finish line. I wonder when this version of Laguna Seca was used. I might look that up actually, when it changed to become what we all know and love today. Meanwhile, Yosogos pulling another move on Haywood for P11. On to the, I think, 4th lap of the race, if I've been keeping up correctly. Just an update on that, the modern version of the circuit came in for 1988, so this is the version that would have been period accurate. They would have used this in the 60s, probably with cars very much like this, and then this version of the circuit, this layout, would have been used right up until 1987. Okay, towards the corkscrew we go once again, the only real heavy braking zone on the track. Maybe the final corner too, that's fairly heavy. Not quite so much, but anyway. Lunt's taking a different line to Shepard. Looks quicker at this point in the race. And so does Kraus. Kraus looks very, very fast here. Thank you to Maddie Shepard actually for letting me know that Phil Kraus has a drive-through. Still don't know exactly where that is. I presume it'll be for something that happened in the last race, which happened 2 weeks ago at Road America. Right, this is a good run that Lunt has got here, or that Kraus has got here on Lunt rather. There is a slight braking zone, I think. I just saw a tap of the brakes into turn 3 there. I say turn 3, that's what it's listed as. Even though turns 1 and 2 are barely existent at all. Or barely extant, I should say. Towards, or through turn 4. Along the Rahal Straight, which is less straight than turns 1 and 2, I'd say. But anyway. And then the corkscrew, which is registered as turns 5, 6, and 6A, because that totally makes sense. Matteo Santini has already built out a lead. 2.9 seconds is the gap. 3 seconds as I say that. And it's continuing to extend gradually. In fact, a bit more than gradually. Santini was flying through that last sector there. So he is looking relatively comfortable out in front there. 107.432 is his lap time. And no one else beats that as they fly through behind him. Shepard and Lunt both with personal bests. That's to be expected. It's very, very early in the race. But Santini has a very comfortable margin. Well, I say very comfortable. It's still not mistake-proof, but it's more comfortable than we're used to seeing at this point in the race. Onto the Rahal Straight again. Kraus looking very close to Lunt, as he has been the last couple of laps. Overtaking here is difficult because even though there's a lot of flat-out, fast stuff on this course, you need braking zones realistically, and they're also not very straight, so you can't really slipstream particularly well here. In fact, I'd say the straightest section of the course is probably this straight that you see here, which isn't particularly long at all. There are other sections of the course that get close, but they're not quite straight. There's little wiggles, and nuances that help some drivers evade the slipstream a bit more than by chance. But that is so close from crash. Surely he's going to go for it here. I'm not... Actually, no. There's just no room there. It's too fast into turn 3. What about on the exit? He is right under the gearbox of... oh, and Lunt runs wide. He's feeling the pressure of Kraus, who's attacking, although he does brake later into the corner into turn 4 before the Rahal straight. You can smell the castor oil coming out the back of Laurent Lunt's car here. And Lunt is dropping back from Shepard as we speak. Kimi Martikainen in the pits, not sure why. And an instant for Mark Johnson, who runs wide. Let's just quickly see that he gets on without... Well, I'm not sure that anyone has really come through to lap him yet, so they should all be okay. Not a great race for Johnson. Jari Lakkinen just got past Stefan Lagodin for P9. That looks like it's going to stick. That's a locker. And indeed, he still puts the power down on the exit. Lagodin almost into the back of him there, but gets away with it. Oh, and a mistake from Lunt. That is the biggest mistake we've seen him make today. So Phil Kraus, will he benefit from that? Surely he will. He's right over the curb on the inside. Well, there is no curb there, and has to back out of it. My goodness. It looked as if he was going to use more track than that. But instead, he used all of it and more. Into the corkscrew again. Kraus looking for the exit speed. Stojanovic also into the pits there. And Martikainen hasn't emerged. So it looks as if we may have a retirement or two down the back of the order. I won't confirm that until they've left. Look at Kraus up the inside. And surely he'll have to back out of that because that corner is banked and faster than it looks. Final turn of this particular lap. Kraus is going to get a good run out of here, especially because Lunt lights up the rear tyres, slides sideways, and that is a good move from Phil Kraus there. Put his car exactly where he needed to and just found the traction. That's how you do it there. Davide Chierici, I believe, or Chierici, says, how many pit stops should we expect from the top drivers? 1 per driver. There is a mandatory pit stop that will take place at some point in the race, but only 1, and I can't see any drivers pitting more than that unless they're forced to by damage or things like that. Kimi Martikainen says he's out of the race because he's watching the race broadcast. I hope that's not the only reason that you've elected to retire, but I saw that you were involved in the opening lap incident, so unfortunate for you, and I hope you don't feel too bad about it. Jari Lakkinen has just passed Maxime Tendel for 8th position. Not sure why Tendel's car is registered as 29C. Interesting number there, especially considering I don't think we have any other 29s unless they are also 29Cs with the exact same livery. But anyway, it is like that sometimes. Sid Drake, I believe, just had a spin. Yep, that's down at the corkscrew. And Donny Yorth follows him off. Oh wow, spinning in sympathy there. So the corkscrew looking difficult at this point. That's going to be a bit bumpy as he gets back onto the road. Assetto Corsa's airborne physics have never hugely impressed me, but anyway. Not sure Yorth will care about that too much right now. Towards the end of another lap, Sid Drake in the pits. And that's got to be unscheduled because it is so early. Tendil, oh, and Lakkinen's had an off. That's from 8th position. Shame for Jari. Let's see if he's got any damage here. It's going to be hard to tell. Let's just watch the corkscrew on board. Ooh. Didn't look hugely clean, bit of a lock-up. That's a beautiful bit of scenery on the left-hand side there. I don't know what it was about that tree and that fence, but that was so scenic. I love that. Anyway. Maddie Shepard. Still running in the podium positions, chasing down Lorenzo Galizzi. Now Galizzi is 5th in the championship. Shepard, of course, leading it. But it's still very early in the season, less than 20 points of a difference, 18 points to be precise, between the two of them. So Shepard can't get too complacent in terms of the threat from Galuzzi. Santini isn't so much of a threat right now, because this is... Wait, no, he's more of a threat, sorry. I completely missed him on the timing screen. But Santini is 3rd in the championship. 5 points, only 5 points behind Shepard. So it's Shepard leading the championship, followed by Lunt, Santini, Ogos and Galuzzi, the top 5. Ogos not having so much of a good day, down in P9. Santini sets another fast lap of the race, pulling away from this fight for 2nd. Phil Kraus, personal best in P4. And of course he's free from Lunt now, so let's see if he can get back onto the tail of Maddie Shepard. After Galuzzi in the championship, it's Johnson, that's Mark Johnson, then Phil Kraus, the top driver not to have made every round, and then John Van der Geest, Phil Brown and Filip Stojanovic. Shepard, I think, made a little bit of a mistake there because she lost about half a second maybe, but appears to be okay. Okay, Martikainen saying not the only reason, the car took too much damage at the start and walked to pits a little after. Yeah, that's about what I expected, and that's a shame, so sorry to see our race end in that way, but looking forward to seeing you back next time. So, while Shepard and Galuzzi's battle dies down a little, with Shepard's last lap, losing a couple of tenths there. Let's watch Van der Geest versus Brown for a bit. This is P6 and P7 that they're fighting over. And Brown charging, almost a second faster than Van der Geest on that last lap. So definitely catching here. Taking a lot of curb. You often see that with an attacking car, because it's much more tempting to use all of the track and more to try to gain any bit of advantage. I'm going to mute myself while I sneeze. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, Brown, 9 tenths. Oh god, I'm going to sneeze again. Okay. I'll be done with that sometime soon. You see, this is why I like having a co-commentator in some other series, because whenever I need to sneeze I can just say over to you, mute myself, and the broadcast isn't interrupted. But anyway, Phil Kraus there just set the fastest lap of the race. So I alluded to this a couple of laps ago, that he can now catch Shepard. Of course, Kraus was behind Shepard in qualifying, but in the race he just seems to have so much pace. And using it to his full advantage at the time being. And I think you don't get a point for fastest lap in this. No, you don't, sorry. Couldn't quite remember, because there's another series that I commentate where you do. Ogos and Tyndall there side by side. Ogos making it stick but going very wide, so I'm not sure if he will actually. Tyndall back through on the inside, well done. They're still side by side, also Lackinen and Lagodin in the background. That's a difficult place to go side by side. There's a big bank on the inside that you have to avoid. And Tyndall covers him off. And behind, it looks as if Lackinen won the fight between Lackinen and Lagodin. For the time being, at least. Very wide from Tyndall. Ogos around the outside. Oh, that's beautiful, and he's going to get a lot of traction out there. That was really, really well done. Reminds me of Kraus on Lunt earlier on. You don't normally expect around the outside of the final corner to be an overtaking opportunity here, but two of those drivers have used it to their advantage. They have to be careful about track limits down there. You're not allowed to put all four wheels over the pit entry line otherwise you're seen as committed to coming into the pits. But I think they were okay there, and they get away with it. Phil Krars also less than half a second behind Maddie Shepard now. I told you he was flying. Ooh, that's a big lockup from Tendall. He's still not done with Ogos, is he? He still feels that he's in this this fight. Krars looks like he's going for it on Shepard here. Less than 0.2 of a second behind now. I must say, as much as... oh, that's wide. That's very wide. And that would have been a bumpy ride from Maddie Shepard, but she keeps it under control and gets it turned in for the next corner. That's important because Krars is right there at the inside and goes through, and that looked relatively easy there. It looked almost as if Shepard just didn't want to fight Phil. And that's probably why, it's because Krars, he has missed around in the championship. And with a championship this short, that basically means that it's over for him. He's not going to win it. But that looked very easy there for Phil Krars. No offense to Maddie Shepard. What I was saying before was that as much as Krars' pace was impressive, I wasn't expecting him to catch up quite that much. So Krars with so much pace here. I wouldn't say Shepard's struggling, because Shepard still has decent pace compared to the pack behind. Lost a couple of tenths again on that lap, but that was due to Krars coming through. Ooh. Over the curbs goes Krars, but appears to be okay. Let's ride on board with Phil Brown for a bit. Take a look at how this circuit looks from an on-board point of view. Now this is the point of the track that's... oh! And Van der Geest made a big error there, and through goes Brown on the inside. You got a perfect driver's eye view there from onboard Phil Brown. Van der Geest just overcooking it slightly and going bouncy over the curbs. Gets away without any damage, but well, damage to the car, but he's lost some time. As Donny Yorth becomes our second retirement here, I'm afraid. Not sure entirely why, but he was one of the drivers involved. Actually, I don't know if he was one of the drivers involved in the starting incident. He made up a couple of places there, so I think he may have avoided it. But anyway, he was running 16th, and now he appears to be out of the race. Of course, we did see him pointing backwards at the corkscrew earlier on. Little lock up from Brown again, easy to do. These cars do not have ABS as you would have on a modern road car. They're much freer to just sail straight on if they feel like doing so. And no traction control either, which is why you sometimes see them getting squirrely on the exit of corners. No stability control. Watch the roll as they don't have much roll because they are very flat cars, but compared to equally flat cars nowadays, a lot of body roll that you wouldn't expect. And the car dips forwards as you brake and rears up as you accelerate. And Brown there got it slightly wrong through the corkscrew, lost maybe half a second. And another fastest lap from Krars. So Krars isn't just satisfied with the podium here. He wins second place and maybe the win. It's still not fully over. I know that Santini's leading by 7.6 seconds, but we're only almost 21 minutes into this race. But it's an hour-long race, so I think Krars is still in this one here. Especially considering we saw drivers gaining and losing large amounts of time in the pits last time out. I spoke to Maddie Shepard after the race to see what she thinks the reason for that was, and she says, honestly, I have no clue. So we'll see how that goes today. Make it a little bit difficult to keep up with, but I'll do my best to keep track of what's going on. Pencils and paper at the ready, I guess. Krars is now within a second of Galuzzi, my goodness. So Krars, who's been the hard charger of the race so far, has not just the fastest lap, but something like the fastest maybe 4 or 5 laps. I don't have the exact stats on that, but it certainly feels like that. And let's take a look at him as he's catching. Let's ride on board with Kraus for a bit, since we didn't get a full lap on board with Brown earlier on. There's a couple of cars up ahead. I believe those are lap cars, maybe Draper and Stojanovic. So hopefully they can get past those cleanly. A leader's worst nightmare is seeing 2 lapped cars fighting as you approach them. Look at the understeer through the final sector there. This car, not a particularly well behaved one. It feels beautiful to drive, but it's very different from a modern road car that you can just kind of flick in and around it goes. But anyway, 0.3 of a second, another 0.3 of a second gained. Oh, Stojanovic passes Draper and forces Draper onto the grass, and that's going to split Galuzzi and Kraus for the time being. I believe that's Draper anyway. Just want to check that quickly. It's not. Okay. Must be Hayward versus Johnson that we're looking at, rather than Stojanovic versus Draper. Up the hill they go. And through on the inside. And that's clean. Well done. So he's got past one of them. And that was Johnson. So Hayward is the blue car. Galuzzi, the red one. And Hayward, ooh, it looked as if he was going to come across there. Just saw him in time. Gets away with it. Phew, that was a little bit worrying there. But anyway, the battle's back on now between Galuzzi and Kraus. Kraus really didn't lose that much compared to how dire the situation looked. They both lost about 2 seconds each. Well, 1.5, but anyway. Looks as if Hayward was going for it or Johnson was going for it in the background, and it looks as if he got it there, up into 12th place. Oh, did they come together? Well, something tells me they did, because the last time we saw them they were side by side, and suddenly Johnson was up in the weeds. He's been passed by Stojanovic as we speak as well, and maybe passed by Draper. Let's quickly look back at that. Or Drake, sorry, not Draper. I believe I've been calling him Draper all day when it's actually Sid Drake. Oh, and Johnson's off again. I thought it looked as if he was bashing the barrier. Is he damaged? I think so. Steering looks relatively straight, but he's struggling. Yeah, apologies to Sid Drake there. I don't know why I've been calling him Draper. There's a driver in another league that I commentate called Draper, and that may be one of the reasons. But anyway, my apologies. So we're almost halfway through the race now, and this is the fight for second. This is exciting, especially since Kraus knows that if he's going to have a chance of winning this race, he needs to get through quickly. Santini's gap is still extending towards the corkscrew again. There's Shepard in the background, so Shepard also cleared the lapped battlers pretty smoothly, which is good to see. Past those really annoying embedded tyre barriers on the inside. Not really tyre barriers, but tyre hoops that encourage you to refrain from cutting corners. And those can be really annoying, especially on Assetto Corsa where the airborne physics aren't particularly great. But anyway, the driving physics are much better. Watch this. Phil Kraus took 0.4 out of Galuzzi. Galuzzi on that last lap. And very different lines there. That looked better from Kraus. Up the inside. Over the grass. We've seen him do that a couple of times. Next up is another left-hander. May have the advantage, but it's fast through there. And Galuzzi gets it, or holds it. This may allow Shepard to join him, my goodness. Big lockup, big lockup. Keeps it out of the banking. That would have been very hairy. This has allowed Santini to extend his lead to almost 12 seconds. It may be over for Kars, but it's still way too early to say. Into the final turn of another lap. Stojanovic just passed Hayward for P12. And talking of passing, look at Phil Kars up the inside through turn 1. Has to back out of it. Over the curb, under control. Back up the inside. Galuzzi is struggling to fend off Kras, but is just holding his line and doing everything he needs to do. But will it be enough? Kras didn't get the best of exits there. That's going to ruin one of his main overtaking opportunities. Even the corkscrew is difficult to overtake in because you've got a bent braking zone on the entry. And now Shepard is right with them. The championship leader looks as if she may be about to fight her way back onto the podium, depending on what happens in front of her. Kras will believe that if he can get free from Galuzzi, he can pull away from Shepard. But will he? Oh, that might help. That might really help. Shepard into the pits behind. Now watch Kras. Kras side by side. It's Kras, the white car on the left. Galuzzi, the red car on the right. And Kras makes it stick. Galuzzi made a mistake in the final turn. And that was all that Kras needed. And what can Kras do? Let's see where Shepard comes out. Whether she gets clean air here. It's the first of the regularly scheduled pit stops, I believe. That looks like relatively clean air because even though Brown is there, he will pull away a couple of tenths per second before they get to the first major braking zone. Not quite as much clean space as Shepard would like, but it's decent. Let's just keep an eye on these two to make sure Galuzzi doesn't come back at Kras, and if he does, we don't miss it. It was good defence up until that point from Galuzzi. I really like that shade of red on a Lola, it just really works. Some of these liveries are really beautiful. I don't know which I prefer out of the Ferrari red of Galuzzi or the Scottish blue of Shepard. I'm not sure if Shepard picked her livery, but she is indeed Scottish, so if she did get to pick her livery, then it was fitting. Not sure why it just registered as Hayward as having come into the pits and then back out again and then back in the space of just a couple of seconds. May have been a bit of a server glitch, but anyway. We're now over halfway into this race. And the pit stop stages are looming over us. In fact, Jos Ogos diving into the pits and getting out of the way of Tyndall. So this will be important for Tyndall now. He's got to push and see if he can undercut his race-long rival. Tyndall and Ogos have been swapping places all over the place. Jos Ogos just yesterday won the historic F3, or historic single-seater championship from Spa-Francorchamps. That's Phil Kras in the pits, and the reason I know that is because he beat me to the victory in the final round, and very much deserved it. So congrats to Jos on that one. The thing I don't understand with Jos is that he just doesn't make mistakes. You know, I'll tend to make maybe one proper mistake per race, and then I'll be sitting behind Jos like, right, surely it's his turn to make one now. You know, any time now, and then he just doesn't. You know, it can be an hour-long race, it can be an hour and a half, it can be 2 hours, but he's just metronomic. Not always the fastest of drivers, but he's fast enough that when he doesn't make mistakes, which is usually, then he's just impossible to catch for someone of the same kind of pace as me. Santini into the pit lane now. So Galuzzi looks if he may lead, unless Galuzzi also comes into the pit lane. Did Santini just drive straight through his box? I'm not sure he stopped, unless I missed it. But he looked as if he was going to be pulling into his box there. Yeah, because he pulled over to the right, and then just didn't stop. Okay, so that's really weird. Well, that's drama for Santini. It looks as if that's going to cost him some time. And that may be what Galuzzi needs. Maybe what Kraus needs to jump ahead. It all depends on how it goes. Because Santini, Galuzzi and Lunt are still yet to stop here. So the battle for the lead is going to be Kraus versus Shepard. Big shame for Santini. No idea what happened there. It looked as if he missed his box, and then rather than reversing into it like a lot of people would, he decided to go all the way around. Let's see if he does pit. Van der Geest also in. Don't be alarmed of him dropping down the order. Jari Lakkinen also in. Looks as if he missed his box as well, potentially. Or at least maybe went into the wrong box. Pit stops are hard today, my word. Another lap completed. Santini stays out. Kraus isn't really getting away from Shepard here. 0.4 of a second on that last lap. That's a little bit, yeah. They both stopped, of course. Ooh, and that won't help from Shepard. Okay, we'll check back on that in a little while. I expect Kraus may start to extend that gap. Especially seeing as we've already seen that Shepard doesn't really want to fight Kraus today. Although if it ends up being for the win, then she may regret giving way to him that easily. But anyway. So, I'm interested. What has happened with Matteo Santini? Because he has come into the pits, but he hasn't stopped. He never came to a halt. And you do need to replace all of the tyres on the car. Oh wow, and that's a server glitch, so that's not the cars actually flying through the ground and losing their wheels. That is just the server having a paddy. Apologies about that. I hope I didn't just panic anyone there. It looks as if we're back to normal. My stream buffered too, so it may have been on my side. Sorry if it was. Yes, okay, so it looks as if my internet's not having the best of time. I'll close a couple of tabs and see if that helps. So, what about this lap? I'm starting to get nervous and wonder if Santini believes that all he had to do was maybe stop briefly in his pit box and not actually change anything. I'm not sure if that would be the case, but if he did just make an error on the way into the pits, I'd have expected him to have come in the very next lap. Maybe, well, it didn't look like he was serving a drive-through for anything, because if a driver was serving a drive-through, you wouldn't expect to see them look as if they're jinking off towards their pit box. That's a really weird one, and I think it's going to cost him the race. Anyway, so under 25 minutes to go in this race now. We're well over halfway through. The gap for the lead, 5.3 seconds between Santini and Galuzzi. But that may change. Kraus, we already know, is pretty much scheduled to jump ahead of Galuzzi, and may well jump ahead of Santini as well, depending on what is going on in this Santini situation. Championship leader Maddie Shepard is dropping back from Kraus a bit, but could still be on for a second place finish here, depending on what happens with both Santini and Galuzzi. Laurent Lunt still running in third position, although is effectively about fifth in this race. and pretty much running in no man's land there. A little way of the pace of the drivers who have stopped behind him. So down into the corkscrew once again for Matteo Santini. Still leading this race, but with a question mark hanging over his head, despite his insane pace. Couple more corners of this lap to go, and once again he stays out. Let's take a look back at Laurent Lunt. Second in the championship, was on the podium at the first round in Zandvoort. Had a really close race to Shepard, only just lost that one. And then was very consistent at the second round of the season as well. No wins yet for Laurent Lunt in this, but podium both times. One of only 2 drivers, as well as Maddie Shepard, to have finished on the podium at both races. Not looking hugely likely that he'll be on for a third one, but anyway. Incidentally, that driver behind him is not on the same lap as him. I believe that's Jos Ogos. No, it's Filip Stojanovic. So, Stojanovic running in 10th position. Looking quick, although still badly affected by that first lap collision. We'll need to, if he's going to get past Lunt, we'll need to do it cleanly. Especially considering he is a lap down. Maxim Tendil into the pits from 7th on the road. And Galuzzi in from 2nd. Let's take a look at that. Tendil also in. I'm interested to see where Tendil comes out in relation with... where... well, I think I got confused to do with that Ogos-Tendil battle, but anyway. Laurent Lunt also came into the pits. Galuzzi puts the power down. Kraus fastest of anyone there. Now Galuzzi has been... who's that? He's just gone past him. John van der Geest. Galuzzi comes out in 4th place. That's not bad from Galuzzi there. Oh, that is. Oopsie daisy. But yeah, not bad from Galuzzi. He is either 3rd or 4th, depending, or either 3rd or 4th in the effective order, depending on what happens with Santini. And I hope it doesn't come down to an investigation after the race of what actually happened with Santini and what should be done about it, because that would not be a good way to end this race. But more confidently than usual, I can say that Santini has not made a proper pit stop, has not changed all 4 tyres like he's supposed to, but there's still a long way to go in this race, so if he realises that, then he can still rectify his situation. Whether he can still win it or not is another matter. Galuzzi has some traffic there. The identically liveried Stefan Lagodin. Who should we take a look at now? If you have any requests, I guess, put them in the YouTube chat. Let's have some more onboard action as well. This is Phil Brown running in 6th position in this race. Pretty quick, looking at his last lap time. 1:07.7. Whoops, a little over the curb. Santini sets his personal best lap, almost in the 1:06s there. So still pushing her in front. I do like that corner there, the one, turn 4 before the Rahal straight. I find it personally more fun and less frustrating than the corkscrew. The corkscrew is a lot of fun though, especially the compression on the bottom. It feels so good when you get it right. The next few corners are, or at least that corner that we've just been through, is understeer central because of the inverse camber nature. And then you have a much nicer cambered corner. The pit lane nowadays is on the left hand side. Back in those days it was on the right. as you can see there. Gavino Pintus says Santini does not see his place in the pit box. He can't perform the pit. Well, if that is the case, then that is a disaster for Santini, because he will undoubtedly be disqualified. And it sounds like through no fault of his own. Oh, and Brown's lost it! Brown is going into... Oh, wow, that's a big off from Phil Brown there. Not sure he'll have any damage. In real life, that would have done no good to the suspension. But went through a dip and up a hill. And I didn't see exactly... It looked as if he just ran wide, got it on the grass. Yeah, understeered off, and then there was no saving it from that point. Gets it going. Didn't lose a place in that, lost a lot of time, but no places. He was very much running in at no man's land. Anyway, back to what I was saying to do with Santini. If that is the case and he really can't see his pit box, then he will undoubtedly be disqualified from the race. Meaning Phil Kraus is now the actual leader. I had that before in an endurance race at Sebring, where I attempted to make a pit stop, and there was no pit box, so the car just ran out of fuel in the pit lane. And but that was on a different simulator, so I've never heard of it happening in Assetto Corsa before. As we look at a fight between two annoyingly identical liveried cars. Having a fight, Ogos and Stojanovic. Stojanovic going around the outside, trying to make up for the time he lost on the first lap. Is that lapped cars coming through? No, that's Phil Kraus. So the effective leader has two battling backmarkers to round. It's a little unfair to call. Oopsie daisy, my goodness, that would have got Kraus's heart rate running there. A little unfair to call Ogos and Stojanovic backmarkers. Kraus may see them that way, but this is a very short track, so it's much easier to be lapped here. So Kraus has already got past Stojanovic. Next up is Ogos. And Phil Kraus. The annoying thing for Kraus is I'm not sure that he will know he is... Oh, and Santini's off, is he? Oh no, he's in his pit box. Okay, so Santini is attempting to make a stop. He reverses in. He'd already stopped in the pit lane, but is he actually having service? Because the rules say you have to change all four tyres. Phil Kraus leads the race, and that makes it a lot less complicated from us now. So as Santini exits the pit box, I am going to assume that he made a stop for all four tyres. And if he did, he will be allowed to hold that third position. Things may well change, it all depends on what actually happened in that situation, but I'm just going to treat it as if he is running in third place, which he may well be. Whoopsie daisy. And see what happens after the race. So Kraus leads, followed by Shepard. Santini is third. And that is a big relief, because if they'd finished as they were, Santini would undoubtedly have been disqualified. Back to the fight between Ogos and Stojanovic. The two orange, almost golden orange cars. Getting very close into every braking zone here. Stojanovic very much had to pause his charge as the leaders came through. Who's following them? Like Johnson. Okay, well they won't have to get out of the way of Johnson, because he is actually a lap down to them, and 2 laps down to the overall leaders. So they don't have to worry about him too much here. A lot of power being demonstrated by Stojanovic, but there's a car in the way. Up the hill towards the corkscrew once again, taking a look out to the left hand side, dipping wheels into the grass. This has got to be frustrating. Probably fun too, though. Overtaking and hunting is always the most fun part of racing, the most stimulating. It sounds counterintuitive, but I always find that I make fewer mistakes when I'm under pressure because, no, sorry, I thought Stoyanovich was going there. But it just stimulates my my mind more. So whenever I'm racing someone close on track, I'm actually less likely to make a mistake than if I'm just on my own, racing as normal. I know that differs for other drivers, but anyway. Stoyanovich still gaining. The car behind them is now whoopsie daisy. Rogos bounces off the wall. Stoyanovich is going to get a good run here. Oh, and that's a big lockup from Rogos. Does he keep it under control? Doesn't hit the bank. Well done. I was going to say the car behind them is Maddie Shepard, so they will get blue flags if she catches them. Stoyanovich almost looked like he was going to drive into the back of Rogos, Vettel style there, but anyway. And around the outside. That's a move we've seen working, but only when the driver on the inside makes a mistake. I tell you what though, he's still there. This is his best chance yet. Over the crest of the hill and off into the grass. Just about keeps it under control. Rogos keeps the place. That's the disadvantage with being off the line. You're more likely to do things like that, just run over the grass and lose some time that way. But anyway, he'll have another shot at it. He certainly has the pace to. But will he have to pause his charge for Maddie Shepard behind? Now, blue flags in SimRacingOnline are dealt with differently than in, say, Formula 1 or IndyCar or things like that. You don't have to dive out of the way of your opponent. It's seen as polite to get out of the way if you can, but you don't have to. Instead, you're supposed to just hold your line, and it's their responsibility to find a clean way through. So if these guys do want to just keep battling, they're perfectly entitled to do so, so long as they aren't unpredictable. Phil Kraus fastest lap. Stoyanovich, once again very racy, but not there. So, we're almost into the final 10 minutes of this race now. Time is ticking down for these two. Twitchy from Philip Stoyanovich. Rogos always takes a slightly shallower line into the corkscrew to try to cover off Stoyanovich behind, make sure that he doesn't get up the inside. But that comes at a cost. He can't go as fast on the exit. It means that Shepard's going to catch them faster. Whoopsie daisy. Very twitchy. And it also means that Stoyanovich is more competitive at this point in the course. Once again, they're going side by side. Right now, can Stoyanovich learn from his previous mistake and not go off into the grass on the outside? Well, the answer was yes, but it still just wasn't good enough. That's got to be disconcerting when you take a look up the inside of your opponent and suddenly they just cover it off, shut the door. Just Sogos was entitled to do so there, but anyway. Keep it out of the wall, that's an easy one to rattle off. Phil Kraus now leads this race by 12 seconds. That is a big lead. He's been absolutely flying, pulling away from Maddie Shepard ever since he made that move earlier on. Oh, and I think Tyndall's just dropped out of the top 10. Where is he? Where he shouldn't have been was the answer. So Lagodin now gets into the top 10 as we talk. Stoyanovich again to the outside. This is looking like a replay of previous laps. That's not. Oh my goodness. Does Shepard get through cleanly? Yes, she does. Okay. Whoa, and a big. Wow, that was very close for Lons in the background. Come on, get it going. There we go. Okay, so everyone avoided Rogos, but only just. Lunt was really lucky to get through there, as was Shepard. Some simultaneous excrement, I expect, from a couple of drivers there. And I'm afraid that looked to be Stojanovic just misjudging the distance between him and Argos, and the pace that Argos was going through that corner there. Not ideal. I'm just glad that they didn't take out any of the front runners in all of that. Now, you are supposed to serve a drive-through if you make a punt like that, and if I was Stojanovic, I'd do that right now, because it's actually, you don't lose that much time doing a drive-through at this track, as we saw from Phil Kraus after the first lap. It says a lot that Kraus took a drive-through after the first lap and is now leading by 14 seconds. But anyway. So, another lap. We're now into the final 10 minutes of the race. Here's John van der Geest. Haven't seen that livery much today. There's something about the face of that car, if that makes sense, the front of it, which kind of makes it look like a Ginetta. A lot more than other Lola fronts for some reason. I don't know what it is. Or maybe like a Marcos Mantis? Possibly just the way the grille interacts with the headlights, the different colours of the two, and the way they contrast. But yeah, it just gives me real Ginetta vibes, or like, yeah. I don't think the Marcos Mantis is the car I'm thinking of, because that one had very kind of triangular, flattened headlights. But anyway, the Lola T70, a Can-Am car from the 60s, probably raced at this track. I'd be flabbergasted to find out that a Lola T70 never raced in anger here at Laguna Seca. It seems inevitable to me. Big American V8 in the back of it. They didn't have any kind of official engine. The Lola T70 was mainly the chassis, but they did tend to use big American V8s. They had Fords, I believe possibly Chevys or Oldsmobiles as well. But yeah. So, almost 5 minutes remaining. Sid Drake into the pits. A little late, but anyway, that's okay. Everyone in this race will score points. Points go down to 1, 2, 3, let me count this actually, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so everyone who finishes will score points here. It's a slightly revised point system from the last couple of seasons. The last couple of seasons, the points went down to, I think, 23rd place, and we very rarely got 23 cars. So it tended to be that if you completed the first lap, you were going to get points. Completing the first lap is all you need to do to be classified in SimRacingOnline. And they made a slight revision to that, meaning that I'm afraid Donny Yorf and Kimi Matikainen will come away from this round with nothing. Bit of a shame for those guys. Here's Sid Drake after his pit stop. Should also point out actually Santini is closing in on Shepard, but we'll look at that if it gets much closer. 0.8 of a second Santini took out of Shepard on that last lap. That's impressive. At that rate, he's going to be on him by the end, or on her by the end of the race. But it's one thing to catch someone and another thing to pass them, as we saw by the Grand Prix the other day. Don't want to give any spoilers if no one saw yesterday's race, but it certainly is not one that Or it's certainly one that I'm very glad I didn't miss. Never been a Grand Prix at Laguna Seca unless you count the IndyCar quote-unquote Grand Prix. They are usually marketed as Grand Prix and IndyCar, even though they are not strictly speaking a Grand Prix length or sanctioned by the FIA. But anyway, actually I think some of them are Grand Prix length. 305 kilometers is Grand Prix length, by the way. Just a random tidbit. Ogos is back by Stojanovic. Wow, how did that happen? It looked as if Stojanovic was getting away there. Ah, I'll tell you what that is. That's Stojanovic getting out of the way of Ogos. Yeah, look, he gave up 10 seconds on that last lap, 11 seconds. So Stojanovic there has been sporting and given the place back to Ogos after their incident earlier on. And well done for that, because that is exactly what you're supposed to do in that situation. Technically, the rules say you're supposed to take a drive-through, but if you give up 11 seconds and give the place back, realistically, that does tend to suffice. And yeah, very sporting from Stojanovic there. It probably would have been better tactically to have just taken the drive-through, but I think it wouldn't have felt right to have finished ahead of Ogos that way. Final 2 minutes of the race. We're going to have one more lap after the one the leaders run, depending on where they are on the track. Hasn't been the closest race for the lead. May still be exciting for second, though. It was slightly unpredictable for the lead, though, with the issues for Santini, and then Kars coming through. Remember, Kars was 5th after the first lap. Now here's Shepard and Santini. Shepard has traffic. That's is that John Van der Geest? Whoa! Wow! Santini there, locking up very dramatically. Caught off guard by the lap car in front of him. It was Stephen Hayward, sorry. Goodness, I thought we were going to see him cream into the back of him there. Locked up heavily. Hayward got out of the way, but I think, yeah, Santini wasn't expecting him to be on the racing line there. That was very close. And could that cost Santini second place? Where's Kras? Kras is... I don't think he's going to get another lap, so I think this may be the final lap here. Let's keep an eye on Kras unless Santini gets within half a second of Shepard, maybe. Lap car coming up. That car may get another lap here. Is that? No, it's my Nintendo, sorry. Anyway. Indeed, so this is going to be the final couple of corners here for Phil Kras. It's been a fantastic drive. Was 5th after the first lap, taking a drive-through which kind of didn't feel like a drive-through, but anyway, has done wonderfully since then to take the lead and win it by 17 seconds. That is a great drive from Phil Kras, well deserved. Now let's look back at Shepard and Santini. They are so close. Just one corner to go. Santini elects not to make a dive. Very wise. Oh, and they come together in the final corner. Goodness me. They just about get away with it. Shepard is second, well deserved. Santini third. Almost cost him both a podium there. Galuzzi is going to be 4th, and then Lunt will be the final driver on the lead lap in 5th place. Kras lapping everyone up to 5th place, not bad at all. Lunt's lapping a driver at the final 10. That was Jari Lakkinen. But what a drive from Phil Kras. So it was Kras who won, followed by Shepard, Santini, Galuzzi, Lunt, Brown, Ogos, Stojanovic, Van der Geest. Lagodin is going to be 10th, and then it will be Maxime Tendel, Sid Drake, Mark Johnson, Jari Lakkinen, and Stephen Hayward, the finishers, and then the DNFs were Donny Jov and Kimi Martikainen. So that's it from Laguna Seca here today. An exciting race. Maddie Shepard will maintain the championship lead, and Phil Kras will have the bragging rights of having won the third round of the championship. Join us in 2 weeks when we will be at the old-fashioned and fast Bridgehampton circuit. That's going to be very exciting. And from me today, thank you for watching, and good night.